Good evening, one and all. We welcome you all to the international webinar series on holistic health. Well-being and Sustainable Development 2022-2023, commemorating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, nation celebrating 76 years of independence, United Nations Sustainable Development Goals 2015 to 2030, as part of awareness and campaigns in collaboration with Sri Holistic Health Foundation India and Sri Research Institute Center for Art Sciences and Well-being. Before we start today's commemorations, let's take the blessings of Almighty.
कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शत्रुबुद्धिविनाशाय दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः.
With the blessings of Almighty, we shall continue with today's sessions. Today, we are commemorating two important events. Today is also commemorated as International Animal Rights Day, at the same time, Human Rights Day. So first, let's look at Human Rights Day. Every year, 10th December is commemorated and celebrated as Human Rights Day. 10th December 2023 marks the 75th anniversary of one of the world's most groundbreaking global pledges, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, UDHR. This landmark document enshrines inalienable rights that everyone is entitled to as a human being, regardless of race, color, religion, sex, language, political or other opinion, national or social origin, property, birth, or other status. The declaration was proclaimed by the United Nations General Assembly in Paris on 10th December 1948 and sets out for the first time fundamental human rights to be universally protected. Available in more than 500 languages, it is the most translated document in the world. A year-long initiative focusing on universality, progress, and engagement will culminate into a high-level event in December 2023, which announced global pledges and ideas for a vision for the future of human rights. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights is a milestone document in the history of human rights. 2023 theme for Human Rights Day is freedom, equality, and justice for all. In the decade since the adoption of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, UDHR, in 1948, human rights have become more recognized and more guaranteed across the globe. The UDHR has since served as a foundation of an expanding system of human rights protection that today focus on vulnerable groups such as persons with disabilities, indigenous peoples, and migrants. However, the promise of UDHR of dignity and equality in rights has been under a sustainable assault in recent years. As the world faces challenges, new and ongoing pandemics, conflicts, exploding inequalities, morally bankrupt global financial systems, racism, climate change, the values and rights enshrined in the UDHR provide guideposts for our collective actions that do not leave anyone behind. So that the UDHR enshrines the rights of all human beings, from the right to education to equal pay. UDHR established for the first time the indivisible and inalienable rights of all humanity. As a common standard of achievement for all people and all nations, the UDHR is a global blueprint for international, national, and local laws and policies and a bedrock of 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. The 2030 Agenda for the Sustainable Development explicitly recognizes it is grounded in UDHR and has to be implemented in the manner that realizes human rights. The UDHR has inspired many struggles for stronger human rights protection and helped them to be more recognized. In the nearly 75 years since the proclamation of the UDHR, human rights have advanced. However, progress does not mean the fight for rights and equally ever ends. Whenever and wherever humanity values are abundant, we all are at a great risk. The solutions to today's greatest crisis are rooted in human rights. Human rights violations reverberate across borders and across generations. These must be collectively over. We need to stand up for our rights and those for others. The UDHR calls upon everybody to stand up for the human rights. We all have a role to play. We need an economy that invests in human rights and works for everyone. We need to renew the social contract between governments and their people within society so as to build and embrace shared comprehensive vision of human rights on the road to just and sustainable development. Given the young people face particular challenges in exercising their rights, while often being at the forefront of human rights activism, youth engagement is a key component of the initiative. To ensure such engagement, OHCR established a youth advisory group which participates in the design, implementation, and follow up of human rights 75 activities. UN Digital Ambassador Ellings animates the UDHR to mark the 75th anniversary of UDHR in December 2023. The United Nations has partnered once again with French digital artist Yassin Alt-Kad, whose illustrated character, Alex is the first digital ambassador of the United Nations on an animated version of the 30 articles of the United Declaration of Human Rights. Explore the works of talented amateur and professional photographers from exhibitions for the general public that have been showcased over years at the United Nations headquarters. Some of the human rights topics covered are indigenous peoples' rights, that Nazi genocide of the Roma and Sinti, sexual violence in conflict, and the plight of the Palestinian people, and many more. Youth and Human Rights 75 Initiative by OHCHR and Youth. This year, world commemorates the 75th anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, UDHR, a miraculous text adopted by the United Nations. The Human Rights 75 Initiative, led by the OHCHR, recalls the consensus imagined by the UDHR look for future and seek to bolster the human rights ecosystem built over past decades. Given that young people face particular challenges in exercising their rights while often being at the forefront of human rights activism, youth engagements is a key component to the initiative. To ensure such engagement, OHCHR established a youth advisory group which participates in the design, implementation, and follow up of human rights 75 activities. The Youth Advisory Group consists of 12 inspiring young activists from all over the world who can work on a wide variety of human rights issues. The overall objectives of the Youth Advisory Group are to ensure integration of youth perspectives into activities of Human Rights 75 Initiative, to help promote the Human Rights 75 Initiative among young people worldwide, to ensure that young people have a voice in development of human rights commitments for the future. As part of its mandate, the Youth Advisory Group is involved in the development of Human Rights 75 Youth Declaration, which will reflect the young people's views on the future of human rights. The declaration will be presented at the Human Rights 75 high level event, which will take place in Geneva on 11th and 12th December. On the occasion of the International Youth Day, the Youth Advisory Group, together OHCHR, organized a global youth consultation to gather views of young people on the issues to be reflected in the Youth Declaration. In parallel to the consultation, an online youth survey and a call for input for youth organizations were launched in 6 official UN languages to gather input from wider youth public. Together, let's regenerate the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, demonstrate how it can meet the needs of our time and advance its promise of freedom, equality, and justice for all. We have various initiatives. On this occasion, Countdown 75, and the 3 tracks of Human Rights 75, promoting universality, honors diversity, strengths, achievements of the many communities striving to address today's global challenges, it reminds us that human rights are non negotiable, and we reclaim it as a foundation on which find solutions to our common challenges. Forgoing the future seeks to harness the potential of latest breakthroughs through all means, including technology, and anticipate challenges that will benefit from their application. Supporting engagement will work with member states and all relevant actors to build a positive force for change with trust in human rights architecture, faith in its promise, and resources to apply the tools that are necessary to ensure rights are upheld. Know your rights. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights holds the Guinness World Record as the most translated document, yet far many people are still unaware of their basic rights as human beings. Drafted by representatives of diverse legal and cultural backgrounds from all regions of the world,
75 years ago, something remarkable happened on the global stage. The world united to adopt the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. This powerful moment emerged from a turbulent era filled with wars, genocide, nuclear threats, and economic instability. Despite these challenges, nations came together to make a solemn promise to protect and advance the rights of every individual. In 1993, as the Cold War thawed and the Internet expanded rapidly, the Vienna Declaration and Programme of Action played a crucial role in reinforcing human rights principles. Both the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and the Vienna Declaration have been beacons of inspiration, igniting meaningful change worldwide. Human rights have become integral to governance and decision-making. Movements like Black Lives Matter, Me Too, Fridays for Future, indigenous activism, and women's protests have empowered individuals to stand up for their rights and challenge injustice. Young people especially have embraced the language of human rights to voice their concerns, and some countries' courts have held wrongdoers accountable, even recognizing the right to a healthy environment. The idea of a human rights-based economy is gaining traction, offering a way to tackle global inequalities and aligning with the Sustainable Development Goals. Yet, human rights violations persist in many parts of the world, often without consequences. Challenges like climate change, conflict, hate speech, the shrinking space for civic engagement, and the governance of new technologies require solutions rooted in human rights principles. By embracing the universal language of human rights, a language that promises freedom, equality, and justice for all, we can overcome seemingly insurmountable challenges. Together, we have the potential to create a more peaceful and sustainable future for our planet and its people. As we celebrate the 75th anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, let's remember that it's not just a historical document, but a living testament to our shared humanity, a timeless guide. Despite conflicts that may divide us, it's in the pursuit of peace, justice, and equality that we discover our common ground. Together, we can envision a future where every individual's rights are safeguarded, conflicts are resolved through dialogue, and peace prevails. Now, more than ever, it's time for human rights. Join us as part of Human Rights 75 to help ensure that every person can live in peace and dignity.
The Universal Declaration of Human Rights is a blueprint for a better future, a guiding light. It represents a powerful unifying force for equality, social progress, justice, and respect. But the journey towards human rights is not a path that was completed in 1948 or when Nelson Mandela walked free. It is an ongoing quest that requires each of us to be torchbearers of change. It is a call to action that transcends borders, cultures, and beliefs. As we celebrate the 75th anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, let us remember that it is not just a historical document, but a living testament to our shared humanity, a timeless guide. In its spirit, let us forge a path of hope, unity, and justice, lighting the way for generations to come.
I think we see today that people feel alienated from their governments, from their societies. Poverty is growing, that hunger is growing. The idea of the Universal Declaration for Human Rights was to create a world free from want and fear. Human rights is also about the type of policies that government should be creating, the type of actions that need to be taken by other stakeholders like businesses, so that we have a society that's actually free from want and fear.
In the darkest of times, brave men and women stood up. When oppressed, they rose. Together they fought for greater justice, respect, and compassion. They had a dream for a better future. Today we are at a turning point. Stakes are high. Climate change, inequality, hate speech. We may feel overwhelmed, but there is hope. You, we, together can create the change we want. By speaking out, by standing up, by taking action. Be the leader you are looking for. Stand up for human rights.
Today, we are faced with numerous difficult challenges. Misinformation, hunger, increasing poverty, climate change injustice, attacks on people, offline and online. Are our rights fading? Where do human rights live? They live in each of us. We have the chance to know, claim, and defend our rights. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights still speaks to us all. Its 30 articles transcend values, cultures, and borders, declaring that we are all human and all equal in dignity and in rights. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights unites us. To counter the current attacks on human rights, we need stronger and broader alliances involving all of us. Governments, human rights defenders, the media, everyone. This year, as we celebrate 75 years of the Declaration standing up for our rights, it's your turn. Find the rights that resonate with you, claim them, stand up for them. In dignity, freedom, and justice for all, stand up for human rights.
"75 years ago, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights made humanity a promise: equality, freedom, and justice for all. There has been immense progress since then, but there's also so much left to be done. We look to you to keep using your voice and to take action to create the world we want and that we so desperately need. As we count down to 10 December, Human Rights Day, tell us what pledges you want to see to make human rights a reality for all of us. Human rights should be everyone's normal, every day. A world without war, without discrimination, where everyone has a say, everywhere, no matter what. The time for human rights is now.
Today, we are also commemorating International Animal Rights Day, December 10th, 2023. The rights of our furry friends are celebrated annually on International Animal Rights Day on December 10th. It is also shared with Human Rights Day, just now we commemorated, as it should be, because animals have the rights to be treated with respect, and acts of cruelty against them need to end just as much as for humans. For hundreds of years, man has been killing and mistreating animals for personal gain, whether it is in the exploitation of meat or animal fur for the sake of fashion and art. The justification that is done out of necessity has been really pushed. In 1948, the UN passed the Universal Declaration of Human Rights on December 10th, following the torture subjected to humans during the World War in concentration camps by Nazi Germany. After this, organizations, associations, and individuals from around the world started demanding that the declaration should be extended to the animal kingdom. And that December 10th should also be the day for advocating the rights of animals. 22 years after the UN passed their historic declaration, the word speciesism was coined in 1970 to discuss and encourage the dialogue and discrimination against sentient beings based on their species. The whole idea that animals are inferior and live for the sole purpose of catering to the needs and wants of humans is an irrational prejudice against them. Just as certain segments of human race are suffering due to sexism and racism, animals suffer as much, if not more, because they can't defend themselves. Despite the coining of this term, it wasn't until 1998 when an official statement was passed by Animal Rights Uncaged, which is an animal protection organization, created International Animal Rights Day to shed light on all types of violence against animals. The founders behind this day stated that since animals cannot protest, vote, or advocate for their own protection, it is the responsibility of humans to do it for them. December 10 was intentionally chosen so that International Animal Rights Day falls on the same day as Human Rights Day. Since then, events, demonstrations, and fundraisers, often covered by traditional media, have been organized worldwide to expose the reality of animal abuse and exploitation. In 1906, Upton Sinclair releases The Jungle, a book that shone a light on slaughterhouse operations. One of the biggest animal rights activist organizations, PETA, People for Ethical Treatment of Animals, is established in America on March 22, 1980. Impossible Foods is established by Patrick Brown to reduce slaughtering animals for meat, and Nothing Impossible for Impossible in 2011. Signature, along with several animal rights organizations, rescues Kavan, the lonely elephant, after a grim 35 years of captivity in Pakistan. In 2020, Church saves the world's loneliest elephant. The celebration of World Animal Day on October 4th, a separate day for International Animal Rights Day, catalyzes the global movement to make the world a better place for animals. Human rights and animal rights aren't that different. In fact, the line should be blurred. Just as all human lives are precious, animal lives are important too, and essentially, any act that can be classified as cruelty against humans is most definitely also an act of cruelty against animals. If you have young children in your family, teach them to always be kind to animals. With the depiction of violence and viral videos on the rise in mainstream media, it is a good idea to teach youngsters to never take the subject of animal abuse lightly. This is probably something that cannot be done overnight, but you can start small by boycotting companies that continue to conduct testing on animals. It's a small test step, but it will have a big effect in the long run for sure. Switch to cruelty free lifestyle and try to move to vegan. The meat industry collectively produces more greenhouse gases than all the transportation of the world together. So carbon footprint of the meat industry is more. As male chicks cannot lay eggs or grow fast, they are usually killed hours after hatching. They are either gassed or ground up alive, so no less than a concentration camp with a brutal killing of animals. According to the World Bank, animal agriculture is to blame for approximately 91% of the Amazon rainforest destruction, depletion of the Amazon rainforest. So, the more meat you consume, the more destruction you are doing to the planet. Many modern factory farms practice tail docking, dehorning, castration, and debeaking of animals on a daily basis, and to top it off, without anesthesia. You can imagine how much pain animals and birds are going through, and not a friendly farm. The growing trend of wildlife series have resulted in a dramatic increase in the number of animals who are abused for the photos in the tourism industry. Selfie for the gram. We absolutely love how there are ongoing awareness campaigns against discrimination based on color, race, ethnicity. International Animal Rights Day serves to remind us that humanity and the kindness should be for all sentient creatures and not just for humans. Advocating for animal rights is nothing short of revolution. Ending animal cruelty means completely revamping our lifestyles so that we are not so reliant on the exploitation of animals for progression in science, medicine, fashion, and the food industry. International Animal Rights Day is a serious holiday that gives us a lot of reflect on, but it gives us a chance to love our furry friends more and go to an extra mile in taking care of them. So give the strays in your neighborhood a treat, visit a shelter, and play with the animals there, and maybe cuddle and hold your pet a little closer today. Today is also commemorated as International Shareware Day, which is celebrated on second Saturday in December. So programmers spend hours in front of computer to make modern life better and easier. Shareware is a software that is shared as try before you buy. Shareware includes software for hundreds of programs, among others. Donkey Kong, WinZip, YouTube Downloader, antivirus programs, and Adobe Acrobat. When the trial period of the shareware is over, the user either starts paying or has to stop using the program. This helps the programmers to find any bugs in the trial phase of the program and also makes potential users aware of what is out there. Andrew Flegelman created the first piece of software called freeware, a PC talk telecommunications program. At that point, the term freeware was considered a misnomer, and Flegelman thought of it as an experiment in economics more than altruism. The term shareware was first used for the program PC Write, a word processing tool created by Bob Wallace in 1983. Prior to widespread internet access, shareware was often the only economical way for independent software authors to get their product onto users' desktops. Only a handful of shareware and freeware downloads are ever paid for. This makes it difficult for a programmer to rely on creating shareware for sustainable income. It is a cause for concern since the mode of software production has created some of the most wonderful software tools that have been made available to the users around the globe. This includes virus protection, software, audio and video file players, and many other applications. The lack of money in shareware, or more precisely, the unwillingness of users to pay for shareware, means that a lot of software isn't updated regularly and becomes redundant with time. Things as common as electric windows in your car, the blender for making healthy smoothies, and a smartphone taxi app are only some daily life examples of shareware and computer programs that we don't think about paying for. The applications that often leave their creators underpaid. International Shareware Day is a day dedicated to the programmers who come up with innovative ways to make our lives easier, more efficient, and productive. This day was created to remind shareware users about the value they have gained throughout their use of programs, most of them for free or low fees. Andrew Frugelman creates a program for IBM PC called PC Talk, the first freeware, in 1982. Bob Wallace produces PC Write, a word processor, and calls it programming shareware, first shareware in 1983. Shareware is widely distributed over online services, bulletin board systems, and diskettes. Late 1980s, shareware distribution becomes a popular method of publishing games, especially for smaller developers in 1990s. Shareware was first introduced by early 1980s, with its popularity rising in 1990s as personal computing moved into the mainstream in both offices and homes. Shareware is usually safe but can sometimes be a potential vehicle for delivering viruses and other malicious payloads. One needs to examine the reviews of shareware and use malware programming before clicking. You often find shareware in formats that paywall advanced features or offer full package for a limited time. Some software might even be fully functional and backed only by donations. Most shareware is available for a free for a period of time. Celebrate International Shareware Day by sending off a few payments to the programmers of your favorite shareware apps and making regular use of them. If you are using shareware, be sure to tell your friends about it. You should also encourage them to purchase a license or make a donation to the programmer. Spread the word by sharing on social media. Thank a programmer friend by giving them a shout out. Hard drives have come a long way. The first hard drive could only hold 5 MB of data, while the modern smartphones have 500 MB of random access memory. The first hard drive cost $40,000 and weighed 550 EBs, when the average hard drive now weighs 1.6 pounds. Hard disks have slimmed down. Most of the emails are ads, newsletters, and other junk emails, and most often scam emails sent out in bulk. 80% of the emails sent daily are spam mail. Douglas Engelbart invented the first computer mouse in 1964, consisting of a wooden shell and 2 metal wheels. The first computer mouse was made of wood. Computer viruses are a fairly new phenomenon. Creeper, written by Bob Thomas in 1971, is the first computer virus, infecting one computer after another with a printer command. So, International Shareware Day celebrates unsung software developers. They have made our lives easier by developing software that we use every day in virtually every appliance we own. Modern existence would be unimaginable without shareware. The simplest tools at our disposal use some kinds of shareware software. This day also look at how shareware became indispensable to modern life. Even though we use shareware regularly, we don't really say thanks to the developers. International Shareware Day is about saying thanks to those who work so hard to develop shareware. Today is also commemorated as Nobel Prize Day. Nobel Prize Day falls on December 10th every year. It honors the achievements of Alfred Bernard Nobel, a Swedish engineer, chemist, entrepreneur, and philanthropist. We have heard of Nobel Prize that recognizes outstanding achievements in various fields in the arts and sciences. Nobel Prize Day is a tribute to the person who instituted this prize. Alfred Nobel was born to impoverished parents in Stockholm, but his father was a descendant of a very highly regarded Swedish scientist and writer, Olaf Rudberg. His father was an engineer himself, and Alfred Nobel expressed early interest in engineering and explosives in particular. This, of course, bore results, with Nobel becoming interested in stabilizing the unpredictable explosive nitroglycerin as early as his teenage years. Despite one of his brothers dying in a tragic accident involving this pursuit, Nobel continued with his work, shifting the factory base to a more isolated area and ultimately succeeding in inventing dynamite as a superior and more stable version of nitroglycerin. Alfred Nobel went on to invent an even better alternative to dynamite in the form of gelignite. This became a staple in mining operations and made Nobel financially successful. Nobel also invented weaponry for military purposes and started companies to sell these. When a French newspaper carried a false obituary of Nobel criticizing him for his role in warfare, he re-evaluated his life goals and decided to use his earnings to set up a prize that recognized the best in humanity. The prizes in different categories reflect his own interest in various fields. Apart from being an entrepreneurial engineer, he was also a writer. While Nobel is still criticized for the role he played in furthering military technology, the Nobel Prizes, including the Prize for Economics, which was added later, are also considered the most prestigious achievement for practitioners in those fields. After many trials, including a fatal one, Nobel is successful in stabilizing nitroglycerin and developing dynamite. In 1861, dynamite is invented. In his last will, Nobel decides to leave a bulk of his fortune to the institute to institute the Nobel Prizes. Nobel writes an important will in 1895. The first batch of awardees received their prizes, including Jean Henry Duent for founding the International Red Cross movement in 1901. The Swedish Central Bank requests this edition on its 33rd century as its donation to the Nobel Prize Foundation. So prize winners in 2021 are set to receive the full amount of Swedish kronor, SEK 10 million or around USD 1.16 million. This has, however, fluctuated over the years, with 2012 winners receive only SEK 8 million. There is an exemption made for people who died during the nomination and final selection period. The Nobel Peace Prize for 2021 was awarded to Dmitry Muratov and Maria Ressa for all their efforts in trying to safeguard freedom of expression, a precondition for democracy, and as a result, lasting peace. The Nobel Committee follows a fairly unique process for the nomination and selection of award winners. There are also many other rules related to confidentiality and due process. There are 6 categories of prizes. The Nobel is awarded in physics, chemistry, medicine, literature, and peace, while economics is a special prize. Nobel has 355 patents. Alfred Nobel was recognized as a patent holder for everything from a gas meter to ballistic. A French newspaper carried an obituary for his death when he was, in fact, Alfred Nobel was recognized as a patent holder for everything from a gas meter to ballistic. A French newspaper carried an arbitrary for his death when, in fact, he was Alfred Nobel's brother who had died in accident at his factory. So Nobel was mistaken as dead. When Nobel sold his ballistate patent to Italy, it did not sit well with the French government and he moved to Italy, where he died. The light years hard spin of the Nobel Prizes, it recognized trivial and unusual scientific achievements. Alfred Nobel was a clearly gifted scientist turned entrepreneur, as who had varied interest in culture, literacy, and society. While this controversial legacy in military teaching continues, the Nobel Prizes are well known and reputed all over the world. It recognizes Nobel's intentions. Had it not been for the erroneous obituary in a newspaper, Nobel may never have bequeathed his wealth to future achievers in the humanities and physical sciences. However, he must be credited to the for following through with this wake up call and leaving a whooping 94% of his net worth to set up the prize. So it is an excuse to learn more about the prizes. The Nobel Prize has been awarded 603 times since 1901. It is fascinating to learn more about the awardees and their contributions. Today is also commemorated as Dewey Decimal System Day in US, honors Melville Dewey and the library classification system we created to efficiently maintain our library's inventory of books. Today is also commemorated as Festival for the Souls of Dead Whales. In US, is observed on every December 10th. On this day, we memorize all souls of whales who died from whaling and other harmful man-made activities. It's also a day to appreciate the role in the aquatic animals around and celebrate the mysteries behind these giant water creatures. In addition, this is also an opportunity to learn about whaling, its history, economic purpose, and negative impact on whale community. Find ways to celebrate the festival for the souls of the dead whales today. Whaling refuses when two four thousand years ago, Aboriginal communities in Norway spearheaded whaling for food and oil. People discovered that every part of the whale is usable from its meat, skin, and blubber to its organs, which are a good source of vitamins, minerals, proteins, and fats. Whaling quickly rose to prominence as other neighboring regions have started adopting it. In winter climates, the whale's baleen was used for roofs and bones were repurposed into carving tools. From Middle Ages to Renaissance, the entire Northern Hemisphere adopted whaling. Whale bones were primarily used for corsets and hoop skirts, and whale oil was extracted from blubber and head cavities. Those were deemed valuable and commodities spiked the country's economy. At this point, whaling is also commemorated as Worldwide Candle Lightning Day, which is also celebrated on second Sunday of every December. Worldwide Candle Lighting Day is a virtual 24-hour global candle lighting ceremony symbolizing compassionate support for each other by families grieving the loss of child. Believed it to be world's largest candle lighting ceremony, the day unites those who remember the child who has passed on. When a child departs this life early, the grief can be overwhelming on a level unequaled by any other human tragedy. There is no magic formula to mend the broken heart, fill the void, and process the devastating sadness in the wake of a child death. Regardless of the child's age and whether the death was sudden or expected, the journey through grief that parents, grandparents, and siblings must endure when a child's life is taken away is a difficult road to travel. Those who embark on this journey often feel alone and isolated. The comfort and support that the Lawless and Hendersons experienced by sharing common grief of losing a son was a healthy, healing bond they wanted to share with other parents mourning the loss of a child. So Reverend Stephens facilitated their meeting with other bereaved parents who he had consoled at the hospital in January 1969. The Compassionate Friends organization was formed. In 1997, the Compassionate Friends of the United States began Worldwide Candle Lighting Day as an annual gift of compassionate support to unite the families of the sons and daughters, sisters, brothers, and grandchildren who departed this earth too soon. The first ceremony was a small internet event that has since grown to include thousands of formal and informal gatherings all around the world. Today is also commemorated as Iraq Victory Day and is commemorated on December 10th every year. It commemorates Iraq's victory over the Islamic State, ISIS, an extremist Islamic rebel uprising in Iraq and neighboring Syria. In December 2017, Iraq Prime Minister at the time, Haider al-Abadi, declared the final victory over the Islamic State after Iraqi forces drove the last remnants of IS from the country. This happened 3 years after the militant group apprehended around a third of Iraq's territory. The announcement came 2 days after Russian military announced the defeat of the militants in neighboring Syria. The US, NATO, Russia, and Iran were instrumental allies in helping Iraq in the fight against ISIS. The Islamic State, also known as ISIS, ISIL, or Daesh, emerged from remnants of Al-Qaeda in Iraq and was founded by Abu Musad al-Zarqawi in 2004. After the surge of the US troops to Iraq in 2007, it faded into obscurity for several years, but began to re-emerge in 2011. Over the next few years, it took advantage of the growing instability in Iraq and Syria to carry out attacks in both nations and bolster its ranks. The group moved on to change its name to the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, ISIS, in 2013. In June 2014, ISIS launched an offensive on Mosul and Tikrit in Iraq. On June 29th, the ISIS leader at the time, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, announced the formation of caliphate stretching from Aleppo in Syria to Diyala in Iraq and renamed the group the Islamic State. A number of nations fought with Iraq to take down ISIS, and several efforts were made to liberate the nation from the shackles of the Islamic State. The US alone launched more than 88,000 airstrikes in Iraq and Syria, leading to ISIS suffering key losses along with Syria's border with Turkey. By the end of 2015, Iraqi forces made progress in recapturing Ramadi, but ISIS made gains near Aleppo in Syria and still firmly held Raqqa and other strongholds. By December 2017, ISIS has lost 95% of its territory, including its two biggest property, Mosul, Iraq's second largest city, and northern Syrian city of Raqqa, its nominal capital. Then Iraqi Prime Minister Haider al-Abadi declared victory over the Islamic State in Iraq on December 9, 2017, leading to Iraq Victory Day being celebrated on December 10. So the group behind ISIS was Sunni jihadist group, which also calls itself the Caliphate and claims to have authority over all Muslims. So watch a documentary about the Iraq war against ISIS. This would help you to understand just how much was won and lost. There was a rally carried out every year since 2018 to celebrate Iraq Victory Day. Join the rally live or via broadcast to appreciate the sacrifices of those who fought in the war. Iraqis speak Arabic, Kurdish, Turkmen, Assyrian, and Armenian, and is multilingual. The capital of Iraq is Baghdad. In Iraq, the life expectancy is 70 years. Iraq's population as at 2000 was 40.22 million people. In Iraq, about 74% of the adults can read. So Iraq victory reminds us everyone of the recent past. The triumph of IS should not be forgotten as the fight continues today. And ISIS still exists. Celebrating Iraq Victory Day gives us more strength and courage those who fight on the front lines. If it was done before, it can be done again. The heroes of the fight against ISIS should not be forgotten. And Iraq Victory Day helps to appreciate their efforts in making Iraq a free state. Respecting heroes gives more courage to younger generation to do more. So with this, we shall end today's commemorations. So thank you everyone for joining us on this day. The feedback form has been raised. Second. The feedback form has been raised in the form of polls. We request everyone to quickly fill the feedback form before you leave the platform. And we thank each and everyone for joining us. See you all tomorrow at the same time. With the same link, with different commemorations. Take care. Good night.